The Agenda with Michael Knight on News Radio 560 KPQ and KPQ.com.
At 9 minutes past 1 o'clock, this is The Agenda, the show with no agenda whatsoever. Let's meet our very special guest. She's Sandy Matthews. If you've ever taken a trip with Journey Travel, you know Sandy probably. Met her at the front desk or on your way out the door, or as you were packing, you got one last tip from Sandy. So welcome to the show, Sandy.
Thank you. Good to be here.
I've dedicated the show to business, and you're certainly in business. What made you choose the travel business? Was it something that your family had done, or were you a world traveler that said, I have all this knowledge, I can send people around the world?
No, I actually got into the business. I went in to plan my trip, my family's dream vacation to Disneyland. My kids were 8 and 10 back then. Now they're professors at colleges, and so that's been 30 years ago.
But they remember that vacation, I guess.
Oh, they do remember it, and that is why I went in to plan my vacation with a travel agent. The travel agent was paying very little attention to me, I felt like, and here I had saved for 20 years to go on this vacation. So I went home and planned it myself.
That's a weird feeling, isn't it?
It is.
It's just like, am I doing the wrong thing?
Exactly. That's exactly what I thought. So I went home, planned my own vacation, put everything I had into it, had a wonderful vacation, and decided I wanted to do that for other people like me who'd never been in a plane, who never had traveled outside of my small little community. And I wanted to bring the same wonderful experience I had with my kids to other people. And that's why when you work for Journey Travel and Tours, you know you're in it for the client. You're not in it for yourself.
And think about your personal experience. You were a little nervous. You were apprehensive. You had saved money. It was a big deal for your family. But the travel agent that you were talking to wasn't impressed by that, wasn't interested in it, wasn't interested in you at all.
To be honest,
you know, the funny thing is, whether you're selling Chevys or air conditioners, if you're not interested in your customer, they get the feeling.
There's no question about it. She actually had a mirror pasted to the side of her computer screen and was fixing her makeup and doing all those kinds of things. Yes, exactly.
Oh, you're much more polite than I am.
Wait a minute. I am wanting this way more than she wants
it.
And that's what you don't get when you travel through Journey Travel and Tours. We want your vacation as bad as you do.
Well, plus people are a little worried that something's going to go wrong on their vacation. They're going to be stuck in Omaha for that connecting flight and never get to Paris, right?
Hence 2 emergency phone calls this weekend where I went in.
Really?
And helped people for those very reasons. Yes, we had one couple that were delayed getting out of Rome. The airline's fault. So the airline put them up in New York, and then I changed their flight to come home for today. So had that one, and then another person who got into Seattle earlier and wanted to get on an earlier flight home. So she actually did not answer her phone, but she got home on the earlier flight in spite of us. So,
well, if I wanted to get home, I'd be happy for you to help me. If I was stuck in Rome, I wouldn't call. I'd say, ciao Bella.
You know, that's
Let's
the beauty
do lunch.
of it.
Come on.
You only have one phone call to make, and it's to Journey Travel and Tours, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You get one of us who booked it. So you're not talking to a nameless, faceless call-in center. You're talking to one of the people who sit here in Wenatchee and book your travel.
And stuff goes wrong with travel, with all the connections and all the different moving parts.
You're
hotels
only as
and planes.
good as your weakest link, and we all know how weak airlines can be, right?
Well,
that's generally our weakest link.
They have the propensity for making customers really angry, or getting people arrested, or killing their pets, or losing an entire flight of luggage. Did you hear that last week?
Oh, my
It wasn't
goodness,
one bag
yes.
that didn't show up. None of the luggage showed up for anybody on the plane.
Trust me, we hear it all the time. Remember, that's when the 24-hour helpline comes real in to help, is when you call Journey Travel and Tours and say, I haven't seen my bag in 2 weeks. Truthfully,
Yes.
I actually went all the way to Seattle to pick up a bag for one of my clients who had accidentally picked up the wrong bag when she picked her bags up. That's why I like colorful luggage or colorful things on my luggage so I don't pick up someone else's luggage. She got all the way to Chelan and found some strange person's clothes in her luggage. She realized she picked up
it wasn't until she opened it that she knew?
No, she didn't realize it until she opened it.
I don't recognize any of these things.
Got her bag, took her bag back to Seattle, and picked her bag and brought it back with us.
Oh, God, that's a nightmare. Well, it sounds like you know what you're doing, and I guess the market is showing you that, too, because you've just won some recent awards that I think you should honk your horn on.
You know, we really did. This is a big deal. I mean, winning. We have, since we started in this consortium, WESTA, for listeners out there who belong to fruit consortiums, fruit companies like that are in a co-op, we belong to the same thing in the travel world. It's for agencies that have 20 agents or less. It's for agents that operate in the western part of the United States, although we do have a few in the Carolinas. But we all join together for buying power and to get our cruisers and frequent travelers special amenities. You can get hotels in Hawaii that serve breakfast. We can get you shipboard credit on cruises. We can keep calling from the time you deposit on your cruise until you pay final payment and try to get lower prices. And we share that with you if we're able to do it. So there is a reason we won number one. We've been in the top 5 for 7 years in a row. But in the last year, we actually won number 1 cruise agency, number 1 tour agency, and the agency with the most growth over last year. And that has never been won by the same agency in nearly 40 years that Westa has been a group.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Let's talk about cruises. I see the ships that are on television advertising the cruises have 8 decks. It looks like an apartment building.
The one we were just on has 20.
Well, do I want to be on that ship? Is that the kind of cruise that I want to go on?
That's exactly why we went on that ship just a couple of weeks ago to check out to see if it is something you want to do.
What do you think?
It's fabulous. And I'm not even a big ship cruiser. I really get nervous on ships that hold more than 200 passengers. So
I like old Viking cruise ships, that they're just about ready to put out to pasture.
Well, I take masted sailing ships through different places. That's my favorite type of travel.
Oh, the old wood ships.
Yeah, they're not wood. They are fiberglass, but they are really beautiful. I mean, they are deluxe and wonderful ships. But a 4,000 passenger, which is what the Norwegian Bliss, that was the big ship that everybody saw just come into Seattle a few weeks ago. And we had 2 agents in our office that were invited to go, and I was one of those. They really asked me to go because I am the owner. I don't sell as much travel as the other hardworking ladies in the office. But they really do trust my opinion. And because I'm not really a large ship cruiser, I was the perfect person to go on because I was looking for all the things I don't like about big ship cruising. And they passed every test I had. Really, it was phenomenal. I mean,
you didn't feel crowded?
I did not feel even the slightest bit crowded. And that's what people don't like. And they have figured out all the public spaces they have spread out along the ship. It really is well designed and a beautiful overall experience. I mean, you can race cars on board a cruise ship. Who would ever think of that, right?
I would not think of that, no.
But anyway, they are fantastic, as are the small 200-passenger ships as well.
Let's talk about the most distant place you've ever booked a person to travel to, probably one of the more exotic trips that you've ever had to put together.
Well, I'm going to say probably it was my own group, actually. I did a Marco Polo trip, and we started...
The Silk Road?
Yeah, we did the Silk Road, exactly.
Wow.
So I started in Tashkent, Uzbekistan. Then we went to Almaty, Kazakhstan. Then we went to Urumqi, China, and we were there when Hong Kong went back to China. They put off fireworks all night long from dusk until dawn.
Wow.
They were celebrating Hong Kong. I mean, those are the things that happen to you when you're traveling that you will never forget, right? I mean, who will ever forget all night long fireworks going off in Urumqi, China? First of all, who's ever heard of Urumqi, China?
And it's probably got 10 million people, right?
Exactly. A beautiful place on the foothills of the Himalayas on the far western part of China, which most Americans don't fly there at all. So that was one fabulous trip, and I've sent several people there since. My own son, and he met a gentleman from Kashmir when he was over there. So
from our Kashmir,
yeah,
or not that, because you were getting pretty close to the other Kashmir in that territory.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Closer to the other Kashmir than this one by far. But yeah, no, we had the world really is a small place, and after being in the business 30 years, that's what I've really taken from it. We can get you anywhere in the world in 20 hours.
Especially, and the people, I guess, that like adventure tours or whatever the real world is, are ready to deal with a little bit of discomfort and no sleep and bad food to get to where they want to go for the adventure part, right?
That's exactly right. I have a friend, in fact, who canoed from the Arctic down to the border up here. I think they've canoed down to Vancouver or someplace very close to that. So our part of that is just flying them where they need to go and getting them in contact with the right people. In this case, we didn't even do that. He had his contact with the right people.
Just drop me off. Well, how are you getting back? Oh, canoe. Yeah.
2 months later.
I would rather be on the Silk Road and at least have a train. I assume that's how you got around.
No, we actually flew from place to place and then took a bus around the area from there.
The Tashkent Airport?
Tashkent Airport.
Do they have Ivors there?
No Ivors there. That, of course, is a very heavily Islamic-influenced country. And so you had to be very careful. We actually did sneak in to see one of the Qurans, and there's very few in the world. We knew that one is in Tashkent, Uzbekistan, and so we were able to get in there and see it.
An ancient Quran?
An ancient Quran. See, those are the experiences you get when you travel. Really, you don't ever go and come back the same.
No. In fact, that was Mark Twain's solution for all world problems, was to just get people to travel, because they don't come back the same.
Even Anthony Bourdain, all he talked about.
No, I saw his show last night. I'm just so upset about that.
Yeah, exactly. And he knew.
Now, some
important.
people die and they're famous, and you say, "Oh, that's sad." It doesn't affect you, but for some reason, his suicide touched me because I just liked his show.
Yeah,
he's so crazy. He's so unpredictable and goes along with all the things that happen to you when you travel in the weird places. I don't know if you saw his show last night, but he went up the river.
No, I didn't see it.
In Cambodia somewhere. Anyway.
Which is a hot spot, too, by the way. Cambodia is one kind of the new hot spots. Cambodia, Croatia, Iceland.
Why is Cambodia the hot spot? Of course, it's
just
tropical and beautiful.
Just kind of different area than everybody else has been going. And people like to do off-the-beaten-track trips these days.
So what do your customers tell you about what it was like being an American just dropped into Cambodia or dropped into Croatia? How do they get along, and what do they do to get along?
People love Americans. They really do. So the stories that you hear about people flying into Paris and people being rude, I've never once experienced any kind of rude behavior. I did one time on a trip. We were in Turkey, actually. And it was a group of German people that were frustrated with our group of American people for reasons I couldn't figure out. So I felt like it was their problem and not ours.
Because no matter where you go in the world, you will meet Germans, right?
Yeah, that's right.
It's true. And Canadians.
Yes, for sure. And Americans.
Yes.
Yep, our paths cross quite often, that's for sure. But, the world really is interested in us and what we're doing here and things that are different about us. Really, here's another beautiful story that I took several back-to-back groups to Russia for Germans from Russia. They're Volga Germans, and if you're out there, you know who you are. So we have taken several groups back for that. And honestly, we got there. We had people were so excited to go into the places their ancestors wrote about.
Right.
So here we were doing tours of St. Petersburg first. And our guide the first year just wasn't the person that I thought best related to our passengers. So I asked for a different guide the next year. But when I got off the plane, the same guide was screaming Sandy and was waving at me on the other side of customs. And she took the entire bus to show us where she had been baptized from the previous year when we were there. So another just unexpected, beautiful experience you would only get if you were traveling.
I lived in one of the cities that is traditionally one of the rudest cities in the world, New York.
Ah, there you go.
And it wasn't rude. It's just a fast-moving city that grows from 7 million people in the morning to 14 million people by 10 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
Now, if you act like a fool in New York, you might get passed by or not get directions to the public library. But I found New Yorkers to be accustomed to people from all over the world and ready for just about any eventuality and not rude at all.
Yep, I agree.
And I asked for directions on the street in Paris in English and got told exactly where to go by just a regular Parisian walking down the street who was really too busy to talk to me, but managed to get the directions out. So I think that the rumors about rude cities are pretty much invented by people who have never been there.
Maybe so, and maybe they're a little bit intimidated by a language barrier, but really, as you well know, most of the world speaks English.
That's right.
In fact, English is the international language. All pilots have to speak English. All service-related people in airports have to speak English. So really, the world pretty much is at our disposal because the world has to speak English.
It doesn't hurt to learn a few phrases, however.
No, that's right. And it's not only nice.
So you can at least say, bonjour, do you speak English?
That's right. And it's courteous, right?
It is.
I mean, I think other countries are really impressed by us if we take the time and the effort to learn a few of the phrases. The ones we always send out to our group, and the first one is, where's the bathroom?
That's a good question.
That's a very good question.
And most people
an
can tell
important
you.
one.
And if you can't look around and figure out what the signs are saying, then you better get to someone quick who can help you in that regard. Your favorite place to travel? A place you could go right now? Let's go. We're going to where?
Croatia.
Croatia.
I would go back for sure to
Wow.
Croatia.
I wouldn't have guessed that out of 20 guesses.
Yeah, we took a small group on a small ship. It only held 150 people. It was a masted sailing ship, too, from Athens, Greece to Venice, Italy, and we went through the Dalmatian coastline, and that was spectacular to me. If you take all the history out, all the education, just the overall beauty and experience, then Croatia has to be it. If you add the education and maybe the spiritual experience, for me, Israel, I mean, how can you ever replicate that? You can't.
What town in Croatia did you enjoy?
Probably my favorite on that entire trip was Lisinji. I say it Lisinji, but we have a Croatian in our office who says it's Lisinj. You don't say the I at the end.
That happens.
Yeah, it's a small little island that's focus is on health, just across from Venice, actually. So it was the last stop on our trip. That was my favorite. But Kotor, Montenegro is also just spectacular.
And do you have any places you'd rather not go again? And I don't mean Ellensburg.
Not really. No, I love the food everywhere we travel. I love meeting the people everywhere we travel. And my son went to Ireland just to meet the people in the pubs. He just went from pub to pub to pub. Didn't even bring me any water for Crystal.
I understand you can do that, Karen. That they have a pub society.
And truthfully, that is a great way to get to know the local people.
Sure.
And so all of our tours, we incorporate a little bit of a unique experience with local people as well. And it just, it connects our two, ethnic groups closer together. And that's our whole goal.
When you get to countries that people like to visit a lot, are there any of them that are difficult to travel in, that have their own special problems?
There are a lot of places that become difficult. Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, many places in China just have a hole in the floor. So if you're not a good shot, it can sometimes be a challenging experience. So really, there are a lot of places that do not have the comforts of home like the United States. I would say almost every place in the world has a hardship compared to we enjoy here. That's why everyone's trying to get here.
And yet you go there and you enjoy what? You enjoy the people, the experience, the view, the food, the something.
All of the above. Just like Anthony Bourdain said, it's hard to not be humble when you travel around the world and see the way the rest of the world lives, compared to the comforts we enjoy here. It's really good for all of us to see the way the rest of the world lives compared to us.
What's your favorite destination in the U.S. of A.?
San Diego. That's an easy one.
I used to live on Mission Beach.
Oh, there you go. Now you know why.
That's a great beach.
It's the town, too. The people are so nice and friendly, and I love
the best weather
San
on the
Diego.
West Coast.
Yes, for sure. It's the best weather all time of year. People will ask me in the summer, where do you go to enjoy the weather in the summer? San Diego. Where do you go in the winter? San Diego. The weather stays pretty much the same year round, and it's just a great place to go.
They have a weather pattern down there called the June purples. It's not you don't get the blues. The sun doesn't come out for like a month. You get the purples.
That's right.
And it happens in the summer of all things, when the fog just stays on the coastline for some reason.
Yeah, that's right. It does have that marine layer for some reason.
But San Diego's beautiful.
It is.
And you can actually almost jump in the water anytime you want.
Really?
Whereas
for sure.
the other places in the Pacific Ocean, I can't recommend it.
That's right. Very cold. You can, but I'd wear a wetsuit.
Do people, what brings people to Wenatchee who have never been here, who just travel through some other connection?
We don't bring a lot of inbound traffic into Wenatchee, and that's kind of, I would love to see that change because we're so proud of Wenatchee. We love it here. We have the best weather, the best people. It's the best place to live in the world, really.
You got an award-winning travel agent here, too,
and
apparently.
We're here, right?
Yeah.
That's because we want to live here. But we do bring several people related to the fruit industry in. But the reason people should want to come here is because of everything I've just mentioned.
Right.
The weather, the people. If you're bored in Wenatchee, you're just lazy. That's what I tell my kids. There's just so many things to do here. It's just really a beautiful place to live.
Are there any tricks to flying out of Pangbourne that we don't know about, that you do know about?
You know, truthfully, Pangbourne has pretty much taken care now of all of the issues that we had. Are we still nervous booking people out of here in the winter? Yes. But I'm hoping that those can be put to rest after a full year of having the runway extended. We have all of the equipment in place now. We have pilots that can fly the planes with all the equipment. That was part of the issue for a while. Then we had pilots that weren't getting trained, and that canceled several flights out of Wenatchee. So we still struggle a little bit with flights out of Wenatchee. We want to be partners, and we want to make that work. But we're not totally sold about it yet in the winter yet, although they've made all the right choices to make it better.
You know, the gas prices are going up for automobiles and trucks, but also that's causing tickets to go up for air flight, too. Mm-hmm. I don't know what the exact prices are right now, but is there a certain day of the week when people buy tickets for airplanes? It's the cheapest day. I heard Tuesday.
You know, I read that same thing. And so in our office, we have 5 full-time ladies who that's pretty much all we do is
you can't fool them.
And we can't find a day that's better than the other. We really don't see that. Somebody who runs millions of statistics through a computer might find that you save 13 cents on Tuesday. But do I think it's worth booking on Tuesday? Not even a little bit. The price is mostly dictated by how full the plane is, by the inventory of the seats. That's what the biggest indicator is.
So anybody can book me from here to Paris.
Absolutely.
But the difference to getting a good travel agent is when something goes wrong. Is that the best way to describe it?
Well, that would be at the end part of things. But at the beginning part of things, we know how much space, how many inches the different airlines have between their seats. We know that there is one airline out there who are moving their seats closer together.
Which one?
American. Darn it, the only partner with Alaska. I was hoping to not have to say that.
Doesn't mean that they do smart things.
No, that's right.
They can rethink this and put those chairs back where they belong.
There you go. And there are other companies like Alaska who do separate their seats further. Those are the little tips you get by using a travel agent. Our expertise really knows no bounds. I mean, we can talk to you about the difference between economy, premium economy, and business class tickets. We can talk to you about being in Hyde Park or being over by Westminster Abbey in London. I mean, those are the things you get when you call Journey Travel and Tours, is you get all the expertise of all 5 of us in there. That's pretty valuable.
Is there any place right now, a destination that has become hot in the last year?
Definitely Croatia and Iceland, I would say.
Croatia.
Now,
Iceland, there's only like 500,000 people in Iceland, right?
That's correct, yes.
But they've got the whole country to themselves, so why do they care?
And they do have the Northern Lights, and that has brought a lot of people to Iceland.
But Reykjavik's supposed to be a very special place.
Absolutely. We're sending a group there, in fact, next year. We're so excited about it.
Have you been?
I've not. We sent an agent a couple years ago because we had a feeling Iceland would be another one of those that would become hot fairly quickly. But river cruising is still really big anywhere in the world. In fact, they're coming even to the United States. Viking River Cruise is going to come and do some stuff on the Mississippi, so We'll have some competition there as well.
What's your favorite river cruise in Europe?
Well, the most popular is the Rhine Getaway, which we took 95 people on last year. And the second is followed by the Danube, which we are booking next year. So
2 fine rivers.
Yes, exactly right.
2 long-standing rivers.
That's for sure. And if you want to come next year, we're going in April of 2019.
Sandy, I could talk to you all afternoon about going places. I have a list of things that I should have asked you, but it was nice to have you on the show.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Congratulations for the awards you just won.
Thanks so much.
And our mic's off so no one can hear me.